Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell in the upper right-hand corner. Follow me on all forms of social media. Check me out at thatdrummerguy.com and enjoy the following presentation.
Hey Josh, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, that's what we love, man. I mean, getting that, recognized. So, you're with that drummer guy.
That's right.
So, are you a drummer?
I am. Been playing for about 22 years now.
That's intimidating. I was speaking to a real musician, not just a journalist. Well, a journalist is intimidating enough, but so you're that drummer guy and a journalist, so, well, fuck me. No, just kidding. That's cool. You know, drummers are a little crazy because you guys, like, beat on things for a living, and...
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, you can't just pick up your fucking mic like me. Like, I literally bring 2 microphones on tour, right?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta bring all that shit, that fucking haul, everywhere you go, dude. I feel so bad for you guys, man. But, you know, like I say, it's like literally the most important part of any band, so...
Oh. Yeah, and I've learned over the years, like, as much as I love playing the gigantic double bass kits, I mean, unless you got, like, the roadies and stuff on stage, I try to minimalize my kit as much as possible, just to save room and to save time setting up on stage.
That's exactly what my drummer was just talking about. He said, oh my god, he has an obscene amount of cymbals, like, it's just ridiculous. And on the road, you just kind of go Spartan. But I've noticed a lot of bands, even death metal bands, are going real retro, like just getting like, it reminds me of this old Slingerland days. You know, when you just have like a bass drum, 1 tom, and a snare, you know, maybe a floor, and just making it work. I mean, to me, after your bass drums, you could probably use a DW or whatever. But if you would have 2 bass drums and you know you get a good snare and a floor tom and maybe 1 or 2 toms, that everything else is just kind of window dressing, you know?
Yeah, it's really true. I mean, as long as you got like the right cymbals that you want to be able to use and stuff like that. I mean, especially when it comes to the drums. I mean, as long as you got like those 4 or 5 essential ones, you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, it's cool to have like octo bands or rototoms, and you know, and I think for Possessed that the rototoms are kind of our signature sound. So it's cool for like less than $200, like $100 and something or less. You can have that kind of signature sound with Possessed, because I mean, like you hear those fucking rototoms, you know it's Possessed, you know. So it's crazy. It's a little cheap gimmick, you know, and people will always remember that for us, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I was so excited to hear that on the new album. You know, it's just like the first time I hear that rototom drum fill, it's like, oh yeah, Possessed is back and as strong as ever.
Yeah, and Emilio's trying to lie. He's like, yeah, you know, I asked Jeff, you know, should I get rototoms for the beginning of death metal? And he said yes, so I had a couple of them laying around in my garage. And I remember exactly, I said, you need to get some rototoms. He went out and he ordered them. So, but, yeah, because it's like almost Pavlovian. It's like I hear it and I fucking think like it's like one of those little triggers for, you know, because like when you hear Motorhead, you hear Motorhead. When you hear Kiss, you hear Kiss. When you hear Merciful Fate, you know it's Merciful Fate, right? And with Possessed, there's just certain things you have to do to make it sound like Possessed, like the funky timing and, you know, and just a little the phrasing and shit, you know, some of the tempos. And but it's subtle, but very unique in its way, you know. So.
Oh yeah, and you know that's the great thing about like the signature sound. I mean, of course, you guys are known for so many different things when it comes to Possessed, but you know, just like when it comes to me, being a drummer that can appreciate any part of a band, you know, just hearing those classic rototoms, you know, be it from Seven Churches, be it from this brand new album, you know, it's just like it's great being able to hear that and keeping that legacy going.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it probably would have been octo bands, but you know, we didn't have the money, so.
Oh yeah, I've always wanted to get those as well too, but I know how much they cost to be able to produce that sound, but those rototoms just sound fantastic on the album.
Yeah, and they can tune on the fly, which is really cool. You know, like, you don't have to fuck with them. You just kind of spin them to tune them, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think they're really cool. And I guess now Emilio also has a sample pad there. So like when we do Fallen Angel, the bells will ring. You know, he'll be hitting it like the hi hat, but he'll be pushing those buttons like dong dong dong, you know. And so we got our samples going, and I'm kind of deciding whether we should put a click track, because I don't know if that will help, or I know it will help with tempo, but like, do I really want to do the same fucking, exactly the same every single time? And is that going to help or hurt? Because Possessed has a way of speeding up and slowing down, and sometimes it's cooler to play like Burning Hell a little faster, or like you can feel the rush like in the drummer. Like sometimes the drummer just goes ape shit and way too fast, but other times it's just like perfect speed up or slow down, and I think that shit matters,
Oh yeah, I mean, especially those live dynamics with the tempo and the time signatures and everything that goes into that live show. I mean, sometimes being able to speed up a song or slow down a song live can just intensify everything.
Exactly. It's like, it's so fucking crazy. It's like not even the same song sometimes, and it just feels right. When you're like rocking out, you're grooving with your drummer and your bassist and your guitars, and everybody's on point, and you look back, you're like, fuck, that was hella fast, and it's like, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than the realism of being on stage and being comfortable, in your own skin, to where, there's a big difference between going up there shaky and going up there confident and just rocking out,
Oh yeah, and that's what's going to be so great about the upcoming Possessed shows, is not only being able to get to do that again live, but also being able to introduce some brand new Possessed songs into the live set.
Oh yeah, the new songs are pretty killer, man. I mean, they're fucking heavy. My intention was to write this is a subjective term when I say commercial. I meant, so I can hit a wider audience, But it's weird because, my mind starts tripping, I'm like that cook that keeps using too much salt. Like, I'm just a little heavier. Like, my solution to everything is to heavy it up. And then, so, some of the songs like Ritual and stuff, are the heaviest songs on the album, which I initially started out to write to a wider audience, and I don't even think I'm capable, man. I think it's just, in my nature to write super heavy, so, I don't know. I'm a one-trick pony,
Well, it's funny you say that, because it's like I really hear the dynamics going on with this album. I mean, there's so many great catchy melodic moments that are going on there, but all of a sudden you'll start going into blast beats that are going in there. I mean, just like some really great nasty thrash riffs that are going on there. I mean, it feels like you guys are hitting the full spectrum of Possessed.
Yeah, well, we definitely didn't want to get buttonholed, because everybody's all like, seven churches, and everybody's like, when we put this out, everybody's like, yeah, it reminds me of Seven Churches. I'm like, fuck. But I guess that's good. That's a compliment to people, because people seem to really like that album, which was crazy because we were 16. And, it's essentially a live album. That was back in the day, when to splice, you literally had to fucking take a razor and splice that fucking 3 1/4 Ampex or whatever, then fucking tape it together with that little tape. And, it was fucking heinous, man. And so what we would do is just I would play bass from front to back with the drums. It was just drums and bass. And if I fucked up, I'd start over. And, once I played the song all the way through on bass, then it was done. But we didn't punch in like these days. Like these days for drums and shit, you fucking just can rip it out, fucking throw it away, rip it out, throw it away, rip it out, keep it. And then everything you've done is just there, and the whole fucking lexicon is right there in that hard drive, And it's so much better today. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's just more, you can focus on the music rather than fucking splicing shitty tape together,
And speaking of that, I mean, of course, being able to experience both sides, back in the day when you were 16, and now being able to record the new album, what was it like for you when it came to recording vocals back then compared to now?
Well, back then I was more about I just want to be as distorted as possible, just horrifying and distorted with Seven Churches, right? then in Beyond the Gates, we wanted to have a little bit more commercial value, and not just focus on Fast and Satan, but like start hitting some different spectrums or different topics and variety. Put some variety into it. So, because our biggest fear was getting buttonholed. We didn't want to get buttonholed and being like just one type like of music, because the whole concept behind our creation of death metal was artistic freedom. Like it was like fuck the rules, let's break it. Because we what I noticed is like there was like an invisible boundary with thrash. First of all, thrash, they were all polite boys with nice hairsprayed hair, and they hinted at the devil but didn't really dive into it, and it was kind of happy. Thrash is happy. Like as a drummer, you realize that thrash has a kind of an up tempo, kind of like a galloping rhythm that is happy. It's happy in nature, and we wanted to kind of obliterate that happiness, and just make it dark as fuck, And of course, a lot of people couldn't see the difference between thrash and early death metal, what we were doing. So that was kind of a thing. I forget what the question was, but what was the question again?
Oh, not a problem. I was just curious on what it was like being able to record vocals back then compared to how it is now.
Yeah. So I think that it was important to keep the vocals as dark and distorted as possible, because that was essentially the separator between thrash and what was considered death metal. And so it was important to like double or even triple my vocals. Well, all like the choruses will be tripled or whatever, or even fourpled, quadrupled, and they're used to call it fourpled. But for the main meat and potatoes rhythm, the vocals, I would double them. I do the same exact thing twice, like not an octave or anything, but just to fill it out. And I wasn't really concerned with pronouncing my words or whatever. That's what the fucking lyric sheet was for. And I just wanted to make sure it was nice and heavy. Now with this one, it was I just did a single vocal track, and I focused more on clarity and pronouncing, word pronunciation, and making sure that people could understand what I'm saying. Because the way I figured is like we'd already been the heaviest band in the world. We did that, in the 80s, from 83 to when, we did Churches in 85. And then of course, people wanted to become the new heavier band, and the new heavier band, it was like a race to the bottom, right? Where everybody just dove down to the bottom, and it was just fucking pig snorts and fucking nuns with fucking bloody crosses and blast beats and shit, And I call it the race to the bottom. So I didn't want to go there. I don't feel like I had anything to prove, so I tried to range it up a little on the vocals and like kind of style it on guitar, and kind of just show off the musicality of the band, and like kind of like show off what each individual musician can do. Like I guess, but I know we're going with vocals. But I remember the most crucial part was that we had Willie Nelson's old mic, right? And it was $15,000 used, right? And that fucking mic picked up everything. So it was, I didn't have to it was great. Like I didn't have to sing at obscenely loud volumes, or I could do anything and it would be heard. And it was so we just turned the compressor way the fuck up, you know what I mean? And so just basically any noise I made was picked up loud and clear. So it gave me a lot of artistic freedom to fucking whisper and do little tricks and try to go up and down and even try to sing a little bit, which I don't know if I pulled it off, but it's different than what I normally do, and it was fun, man. It was really great. I remember at one point I was rubbing my index finger to my thumb, right? And was going, and I was probably 4 feet from the fucking mic, and Peter's like, "What is that fucking noise?" And I held my, I was in the fish tank, the glass, and I held my fingers up and I was rubbing it. He's like, "Are you fucking shitting me?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, this fucking mic picks up everything, dude. I'm rubbing my fingers together. It sounds like somebody's sanding a table here." It's crazy, dude. It was fucking so much cooler than technology rules, dude. And everybody's like, "Oh, it's so different." One of the main questions are, what was it like back in the 80s and now? It's better. I mean, it's not like it's a foreign fucking, on Mars or anything, because everything's modeled after the predecessor. So, like, I mean, it looks essentially the same. It's just super efficient, you know, like, you can't go in there just blowing buckets of money. Like, in the 80s, like, I think our EP, we spent like 85,000, you know, like, for 5 songs at Fantasy Studios in between Night Ranger and David Lee Roth out in, you know, Berkeley. And you can't, you know, you just have to be like fucking just burning money to go through that now because everything is Pro Tools. It's easy, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And kind of like you were harkening back to just a little bit ago, you know, just wondering if you were like really capturing what was going on vocally. And I gotta say that you did. I mean, you know, it's just like I hear that new style that's going on there compared to the original recordings. And, you know, it's just it's great to hear you being able to stretch out what you can do vocally. I mean, being able to hear the stories that you're telling on the album, making them match so well with what's going on behind you musically. I mean, it absolutely fits.
That's the truth, because I mean, I know the Possess has history where people are either going to love me or hate me, and you know, they also want to compare me to a lot of other people, which is funny because I'm not like really like I'm just trying to be myself, you know, like I don't try to copy anybody or but there is like a few seconds where I did do like a vocal nod to Lemmy because you know I was missing him after he died, and so but generally I just try to sing in my own voice and keep it natural. That way I don't lose it, you know. So, but I'm not one of those people that has like that, with Robert or Emilio or Dan or Claudius. Like if they listen to a Maiden song, they learn it on guitar or bass, right? And they're like encyclopedias, like walking encyclopedias, like of every band and every song. And I'm totally not that way. Like I'm almost ashamed to say that. Like mostly I just focus on Possessed and like, you know, like of course I run into different bands because of what I do, and like if I hear a good song, I like it, but you know, I don't just, you know, it's not often, I don't have the time as often as I would like just to sit down and check out bands and listen to music for fun, you know. I wish I did though. I do that. I just don't do it like I used to when I was a kid, and I wish I still had that kind of time.
Oh yeah, and it's so much easier for a lot of people nowadays to be able to check out so many more bands than what was possible back then.
Yeah. I mean, it's always cool when you see. I mean, there's a lot of non-exciting bands in the world, but every once in a while you hit a band and you're like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, you just know, you know? There's just some bands that you hear and you know that they're fucking great, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like Armor Saint, the first time I saw Armor Saint, I wasn't even into that kind of music, you know? But I was like, fuck, this band is fucking really good, you know what I mean? Or like the first time I saw Primus, or like Blind Illusion, or Exodus, or like Merciful Fate, or, you know, like you just know like something special about those guys, you know, or Raven, or Metallica, or Megadeth, or, you know, like some of those bands you hear and you're just like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but you know what I mean? Like, I saw this band called Necrot the other night. They're a 3-piece death metal band.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, man, these dudes are cool, man. Like, I think those guys are going to be famous.
Yeah, and you know, that's the great thing about when you are able to find that diamond in the rough, when you are able to find that band that you're able to connect to. I mean, be it a band that you grew up being inspired by, or a brand new band that's just completely brand new to you that you can see on the rise, like Necrot, you know, just being able to discover that and know that they're doing something original, they're doing it creatively enough, and they're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, I mean, Necrot, the open for us in Oakland, it's like NECROT. I'd never heard of them, but I know everybody was pushing them in the Bay Area. I know for some reason the powers that be are pushing them. You can tell when a band is being pushed, you know, like right now, I mean, this interview. Like, there's a system, there's a method behind this. I'm putting out an album, so Nuclear Blast goes all over the world. I'll be doing Russia one day, France the next day, Brazil, or fucking Japan, or whatever. Like, it's part of the machine, right? And you can tell with Necrot, like, just the local Bay Area machine at least is pushing them, and then there's like another force behind them where like is pushing them, and you can tell that like the powers that be really like that band. But yet on top of that, they're a weird little 3-piece, and they're not playing like normal music, like they're doing different stuff. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of repetitive and simple, but yet catchy and cool, and it's easy latch on to, and I like that. I like that with the band. Like, I like the hook, and stuff that doesn't make it so complicated that you can't enjoy it. Like, there's a lot of death metal bands out there, like I call it, not just the race to the bottom, but the cookie cutter, where it's almost like a rite of passage, just that you made it through the song without fucking killing yourself. It's so heavy, And then people are like, well, I'm into this band because they're the heaviest. But are they really enjoying that music as much as they could? I think that it shouldn't be that difficult to listen to a fucking song. It should have, the components, that familiarity, that makes it like fun and enjoyable. I mean, it's entertainment, right? So I don't think, that it needs to be as painful as it's been getting,
Yeah, and that's what makes me so happy about when you guys are able to play shows and you are able to have a band like Necrot, just like being able, again, just to write music that they want to write. It doesn't need to be overly complicated, and I imagine that's got to be a great feeling, of course, pioneering a genre like death metal, to see bands being able to take their own spin at it and do such a great job with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's like folk death metal now, and there's all kinds of different, like a wondrous variety of death metal. While I'm not too keen on the subgenres of death metal, I do know that it strengthens it. Like, instead of it just being one thing, like a lot of people still say, oh, Possessed is thrash, they're not death metal, but thrash is happy. So I think we're like kind of like original California death metal, but what was I saying? So, instead of it just being one thing, like, it strengthens it. Like, if it opens up, a wider variety, what makes death metal, instead of just being, four basic rules or fundamentals, then I think that strengthens the genre. And, it's been kind of like a life, goal of mine, just to, like, when I die, I want death metal to live forever. You know what I mean? And so, I hope that it doesn't go away. I mean, it almost went away in the 90s with fucking grunge, which is unbelievable, but I guess that happened. So it was like the grunge was the hair. In a way, though, the grunge kind of strengthened it too, because it was the new hair band, to rebel against.
Oh yeah, and I totally see it that way too. I mean, whether metal is more of the most popular genre going on, or it continues to be more of that underground, I always see that cycling going on in music. Sometimes the more technical aspects is what is more popular, but that will counteract, and the more melodic, faster kind of things will start to take back over, and then people want to be able to progress and see what else they can do with that. So it's always kind of going in cycles from popularity, the styles, everything that's going on, and when it does have a resurgence, it feels like such a great breath of fresh air.
It is. It's so hard to do anything original, because it almost feels like everything's been done before, and I try to do something new, but then when you do something that you think is new, then people compare it to something else, and it's really difficult. But all you can do is just be yourself, because there's nobody like us, right? We're individuals. So the way I figure it is, as long as you're being yourself, then it's going to be a part of you, and that's original enough, right?
Oh, absolutely. And of course, I can bring this back into the new album. I mean, even though it does approach things differently than the previous recordings, I mean, it feels like a Possessed album, like I've mentioned before. I mean, it definitely feels like what Possessed has been going through within the last few years, and I wouldn't want it to be any other way than authentic, and I absolutely hear this from start to finish being an authentic Possessed album.
Oh, yeah, it's still me. I mean, we toured the old stuff, God, way, almost 3 times as long as the original Possessed. So these guys have been in Possessed much longer, well over twice as long as the original members, the original guys. So they're every bit as much, and plus they're veterans, they're pros. So it only took them a second. From the very first note of tryouts, Dan played the Possessed song better than any other guitarist of Possessed. He's literally that good. And plus he's a producer and an engineer. This kid's like a wonder boy, I literally found him through his girlfriend. His girlfriend's like, because I was trying out people, and oh shit, I keep forgetting the question. Oh, it feels authentic. Oh, but I found him through his girlfriend. I was like trying out guitars, and everybody was coming like just to kind of meet me and get an autograph, and they knew like the rhythm to, or part of the rhythm to Eyes of Horror, but they don't do solos. And I was like, oh fuck, this is gonna be a nightmare. Like, because in my mind, Possessed might be washed up. I don't know. I don't know if there's any interest in it. I need to find a fucking live-ass guitarist, another Larry Lalonde, right? Now, Mike Terrell was a genius writer, but he literally couldn't even play a major scale. He knew zero fucking theory. He knew how to tune his guitar, and that's about as theoretical as he got. So while me and Larry were all into theory, we're fucking balls deep into theory, we also had to work with, that side of it. And so there was like an ebb and flow there. But with Dan, it was, these guys are like, you're just like, what keys it in, I can explain, with Robert, like if he's playing a bass part wrong, or if Dan is playing the guitar part, I could really fine tune part, piece by piece and part by part to make sure that every single piece and every single action was exactly like the old Possessed. And if the old Possessed was wrong, I could fix that too. You know what I mean? So I not only took it back to the old days, but fixed the old days. And I was able to do that with these guys. And like I say, they're pros, man. So it's not like you have to baby them. If you say it, they got it, and it's quick, it's efficient, it's easy. And, it's just so much nicer to work that way, So it makes my life a fucking buckload easier,
Oh, absolutely. So with that in mind, I mean, obviously getting some amazing musicians to be able to continue on the legacy of Possessed. I mean, what was it like to finally be able to start getting into the writing of the new album?
It's great. I mean, it's a process like anything. Like, everybody wants to get writing credit, but, I'm not going to approve anything that doesn't sound right. So it's kind of a painful process, too, because, say, Claudius will come, he wrote, 10 songs, all declined, right? And I don't know if I should say that, because it takes a second. Like, he's getting, he was writing more like European kind of metal stuff, right? And as cool as that is, it's not Possessed. Like, you can't just come in with the old stuff that you grew up with. It has to be Possessed, right? So there's kind of like a learning curve, where Claudius is the newest person, but he's like, you can tell he's latching on real quick. But it's like, it takes a second before you can write with Possessed, if at all. You have to be really kind of savvy on like the basics, I mean, what makes Possessed Possessed. So I think that, of course, that eagerness to write and actually get some writing credit and publishing credit is that's its own whip cracking, and hopefully that's that drives people into the homeland, to the home run, where you get on an album. But Dan, he found that I think where Dan shines most is whenever I give him the bass riffs, I write the basic guitar, and then he's really good at crafting that together and adding riffs onto that. So he's good if you just kind of seed it, you know what I mean? And so we co-write, much of the album together that way. I'll send him between 7 and 12 riffs on I have this little fucking peanut guitar. It's called a Fernandez Nomad. It literally runs on a little 9-volt battery. I just turn it on because I don't feel like plugging in. Being crippled like me, I'll be laying in bed, and I don't feel like fucking turning on my big amp and plugging in a guitar and shit. I just switch it on. It's got a built-in pedal in it or whatever, so I can get distortion. I play it directly into my external mic, and I'll put groups of 7 to 12 riffs in a package, and I'll email them to Dan, and Dan will sew those together and make them nice with the drum machine or whatever, and then send them to Bobby, and Bobby will remotely punch in his bass, and then Dan will have his solos. Then he'll send them to Claudius, so he'll punch in his solos. Then he'll fly to LA and mic up the drums, replace the electronic drums with real drums. Then lastly, he'll fly to my house, and we'll set up a little studio and a vocal mic, and we'll do. That's how we do the scratch tracks and the foundational tracks to the albums. Is we do a pre-album demo with a hidden click track, and then you can take that whole shit into the studio. And it's like junior college. You save a bunch of time and money. instead of just paying for everything, outright. And I keep losing myself. Yeah, it's a process, man. Like, I don't know if I'm being too honest, but it's hard to write for Possessed, like, because there's just a certain ingredients in the stew that you have to know and just kind of feel, and it's really hard to explain.
Yeah, and again, that's what makes the new album so great for me, is that being able to find those right musicians that know what Possessed is looking for, even if they want to be able to incorporate something different, just being able to figure out what Possessed is, what it needs to be, how it can continue on in the future, being able to co-write with those people as well too. I mean, the fact that you have to go back and forth like that is such an important thing.
Yeah, and you're right. It is important to put different stuff in, but it has to feel like more original. Like I say, like I don't want to just do add some European style metal in it, because we're a California band. So, but I'm open to everything if it sounds right, But it's weird, it's weird. Like I'm already trying to write for the second album now, and God, so at certain points you just fucking blank out. You're just like, I don't want to just do the same shit over. So I just start fucking with patterns and letting it kind of blow out, like just holding my guitar while I watch TV or whatever. And hopefully something comes out.
Oh, that's got me excited to hear right there. I mean, just the fact that this album is going to be coming out in just a little over 2 weeks, but the fact that you're already thinking that forward ahead with Possessed to be thinking about the next album, I mean, that makes me just so excited as a fan.
Yeah, it's in the contract. You got a 3-album contract and a bunch of bonus material and videos, and you literally got to fulfill. You're legally obligated to fulfill that. So, but the Nuclear Blast is fucking cool. Like they're not going to say like, all right, the year's up, we need the album. They're going to be like, take your time, do it right. And of course, it benefits them by keeping us under contract longer. So. But but the sooner I can pump the albums out, the sooner I can renegotiate. So.
Oh, very good point. So, with all of that in mind, I mean, obviously, again, with the whole writing process, making sure that the new music fulfills that Possessed feeling to it, but, making it stand out in today's age. I mean, what was it like to finally be able to start selecting singles to be able to show off to the world some new Possessed?
Well, I think that Nuclear Blast really kind of selected those singles because, certain songs, they just, they stand out, so they could, No More Room in Hell was kind of the one, we put that first on the demo that we sent to Nuclear Blast, and that's really the song that got assigned. And so that was kind of an obvious single. And then we tried to pick, songs that weren't, that weren't necessarily the very best, but not, like we didn't want to give away the whole album, but we used singles that were strong and we were confident with, but yet left something for May 10th,
Yeah, and I definitely think, at least so far, I mean, those were some great choices to be able to show off the album, and I know for me, it left me wanting to hear more from the album, and then when I finally got to hear the whole thing in context and everything, I was just so happy with the results of everything. Like, you showed off the right amount of Possessed without giving everything away.
Yeah, cool. So you heard the whole album then, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
And you dig it?
Oh yeah, from start to finish. I mean, of course, the intro and outro tracks are just fantastic, but everything in between there, I mean, it feels like such a great Possessed album and exactly what I would have wanted to hear in 2019.
It's fun. Did you notice I wrote Fallen Angel into the intro?
I noticed that. Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up later. I mean, that was great. I got to hear that.
Yeah, it was like a little, like a kind of a little retro. Like I was like, and it's funny though because whenever I say shit like that, like whenever I Fallen Angel into the intro, like Dan's natural reaction was always look at me like I'm fucking crazy. Like, no, that won't work. I'm like, no, man, it'll work, man. I'm telling you, it'll be cool. So it's funny. Like I always have Dan as like my alter ego, which is cool because we'll like get in fights like what's that one part? Oh Lord, my heart it breaks. That kind of singing part. I think it's in like the Omen or something. But and Dan was like, no, you can't put that in there. That sounds fucking dumb, dude. It sounds gay. I'm like, no, it'll work, man. It'll work. and I was like, we're down in my basement. I'm like, are you refusing to press record? Because he's engineering. And he's like, no, I just think you should think about it. Like, bro, like, this is a fucking demo. Let's at least lay it down and hear it. And then we can always go over it, you know? And he's like, no, I don't know. Like, he's afraid to hit record. I'm like, dude, fucking, just my band, like, we did an argument, like, press fucking record or you're fired. He's like, you're not going to fire me. I know, but still, press the fucking record button. You know, fucking, like, you know, there's, like, he knows he's important. Like, once they know they're important, it's hard to boss them around anymore. But I don't like to be that guy anyway. Like, I don't think it really helps. Like, okay, so if you're at work, right? Like, you know, this is the comparison to, like, the old Possessed, where we were just ruthless, we were gangster about everything, right? Like, if you're at work and your boss comes up to you and fucking slaps you in the back of the head as hard as he can and says, fucking get back to work, like, that's not going to make you fucking work better. Right? You're going to be, like, flustered, embarrassed, angry, hurt. You know, those are not good factors in creation, you know what I mean? And so I think with the absence of all that, this is a much better band, because we were constantly at each other's throats in the old band. Oh my God, you know, like literally fist fighting. So there was that. It's much better now. I mean, we all get along, and we're older, we're wiser, and you know, and there's people that have actual talent. Like, they're not so fucking defensive, you know. So you can't. The days of just being a maverick and being different with, like, very little talent, but because you're putting something new out there, you get famous. Those days are gone, man. Everybody can play now. You know what I mean? And produce and engineer, and you know, there's just too many. You know, there's a lot of hungry kids out there. You know, so it's different these days. It's just better, I think. You know, I mean, it was cool just being a fucking, you know, an idiot and back in the day, but you know, as a musician or artist, I think it's just it's much better today. You know?
Oh yeah, and that's one thing I've absolutely noticed is, you know, it's just like you do have to be more on your game in today's age, and being able to do more than just play your instrument as well. I mean, being able to produce or engineer or design artwork, or being able to tour manage, or the business side of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's much, well, it was weird because, like, in the old Possessed, like, literally all I did is sign a contract and was like, why am I not getting paid, you know? And that's not how it works, you know? Like, you know, if you're not on top of your shit, then people will roll over you. And I mean, same with music. I mean, like, if you, like, there's a lot of writing credit I didn't get back on the old albums because, quite frankly, I didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? I was just happy to get on stage, you know, which I didn't make one penny for 80 of those early Possessed gigs. So, you know, like, I didn't care about money. I just wanted to play. And in a way, I'm still the same. It's just, you know, I watch out for things now rather than just, like, ignore them, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, thankfully you are in that position to have been able to go through those experiences, but also be able to learn from those experiences, and being able to reform Possessed and be able to continue on with the vision that you want to have, being able to be that much smarter and wiser with what you want to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good to, you know, have an attorney or two, and that way you don't go 3 steps forward and 6 steps back, and you know what I mean? Like, you keep moving forward, and but you know, it's death metal. You're not going to get rich here. You know, it's a very blue collar thing. You know, but you can have a lot of fun, and I mean, if big fucking cars and fancy houses is your thing, then death metal is probably not the place for you. But if playing music and traveling and, you know, just enjoying life is your thing, then fucking that's the right of my alley. I mean, I've had money before. It doesn't make me happy. You know, and you know, like, I'm not poor or anything. Like, I don't worry about money, but that's not my thing. My thing is, like, living, you know, like I've been dead once or a few times. I found it very enlightening. Like, I try to live, like, every day, like, every minute, every second, rather than, like, waiting until 5 o'clock, you know? Like, whatever I'm doing, if it's, like, a boring road mechanical task, I try to get into it, like, 110% or 100%. And that and make it interesting, you know, and I find life interesting and worthwhile, and I try to take pleasure in the smaller stuff, you know, and and make it matter, and it's good to be alive, the alternative is just shit, so I don't know where I'm going with that, but life is good, death metal is good, and I couldn't be happier. I still have my day-to-day fucking struggles, but in the end, it's worth it. So
yeah, absolutely. And everyone has a different path in life. I mean, there's so many ups and downs that people can have, but when you are able to find that true happiness in life, I mean, whatever experience leads you to be able to find that true happiness, and you're able to live out the rest of your life being able to know what that happiness is and go and experience that as much as you can, it just makes those experiences all worthwhile.
Oh, definitely. And of course, my kids, and even though they're bratty teenagers, they like don't want to come up and see me anymore and shit. But like, it's funny because when you're a dad, like, you start realizing what a prick you were as a teenager. Like, I'm like, oh shit, man. Like, I'm glad my kids aren't like I'm glad my kids aren't like I was, man. Oh, fuck. I would never sleep at night if my kids were as bad as I was at their age, Like, I literally, left home when I was 16, right?
Yeah.
And, like, fuck you, I'm going to Europe, And, but my kids are good, they're really good. They don't drink or do drugs or fuck up, and my son's been in martial arts since he was 5. He's 18 now. So he just submitted a black belt the other day, a couple of them.
Oh, that's incredible.
And my daughter's on to softball, and, they're just good kids. They're good, American kids, Sonny plays ukulele, and she likes that, what's her name, Billie Eilish?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of her.
Eilish or whatever.
Yeah.
She likes stuff like that, but she plays ukulele, and she picked it up real fast. Like, I literally bought her ukulele. The next week, she had it, and she was just strumming and singing. I was like, fuck, man. Well, I didn't say fuck, but I was like, man, you're really good. And she was like, oh, quit it. I'm like, no, she's really, really good. So she picks up, and Jeff plays bass and guitar and a little bit. I'd like to see him play more, but he's more into jiu-jitsu and shit. So
sure.
I gotta respect it.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I mean, what do your kids think of Possessed?
They're really good. I mean, I'll run riffs by them, and they'll be like, it needs to be this part. They'll help me tweak them. They know my music, and they listen to rough parts or demos and tell me what can be fixed up, and they're actually really they can get really critically into it and actually help me twist the riffs around. So they know Possessed. They grew up since they were born, with Possessed. So, and but they listen to all kinds of music too, though. But I was looking through Jeff's music files, and it's Maiden, Sabbath, Motorhead, Metallica, Possessed, and then they'll have the Arctic Monkeys or fucking some of that fuzz bass, new rap Lil Pump or something, and then probably not Lil Pump or some gangster rap and NFL Cartel or NFL Bow. And then but it's really just wide, what is that called, EMF or whatever? What is that shit called?
Oh, yeah.
That techno shit to death metal to fucking old school Zeppelin or Sabbath. So he's like me. He's a lot like me. If he likes it, he'll listen to it. And I don't give a shit. I like everything from Elvis to Hank Williams to Johnny Cash to Steve Miller to fucking, I don't give a shit. If it sounds good, I'll listen to it.
Yeah, and that's such an important way to be too. I mean, not just for a creativity and inspiration when it comes to your own band, but it's just there's so many different styles that you can appreciate if you open your mind up to it. And it doesn't matter if it's something more of the gospel or the early days of rock and roll like Elvis, or something like Possessed or Ellie Goulash or whatever the case is. Just being able to appreciate everything that's out there that you would enjoy.
Yeah, I think it's important to listen to different kinds of music. I love Jaco Pastori. When as a bass player, I trip off some of those, it's just a trip, some of the phrasing and how deep some of these guys and gals are that are into music. It's just been really cool, and of course I play death metal, which is kind of so ham-handed compared to all that. But we're trying to get better every day, so.
Oh, absolutely. And, again, it's just like, it's so great to see that going on through Possessed. I mean, obviously, whether it's something that you were able to write or the rest of the band was able to tweak and everything that ended up on the record and whatever happens in the live setting, being able to show off these new songs, it's just, as a fan, it's so great to see everything that is going on with Possessed. And I can tell just from hearing this record, it sounds like all of you guys are trying to be the best that you can possibly be at writing this style and being able to push forward with that.
Yeah, it's a process, man. Like, you're never going to be 100% happy with it, but, I think we had like 17 mixes on this album, and oh my god, we were going crazy. Peter almost quit. I almost fired him, and he almost quit again, but then we finally got it. He's like, all right, this is the last fucking mix, and if you don't like it, I'll just quit. And I'm like, shooting Gerardo, I'm about to fire this person to get a new person. And like, we're like that into it. Of course, in the end, we know it's going to work out, right? It's all fucking, what is it? What do they call that? Where you like kind of like positioning, or whatever. Yeah. But what is that word? Where you're kind of just like flexing on somebody to try to get your way. And but in the end, like I look back and I just laugh. It's like because it really mattered to everybody to try to get the best sound. And I think initially that Peter, he just assumed that we wanted to go old school, like sound like, old. And that's not the case at all. I wanted to be a lot more modern and take advantage of, the equipment and try to have a clean, good sound. Bring Possessed into 2019, not back in the 80s, because the only reason we sounded 80s was because it was the fucking 80s. We were using, the best equipment the money could afford at the time. But, it was an analog, world back then. So, I think it's not like we were trying to sound that way. It's just, that's all they had. So, we're always going to take advantage of technologies, and even though, the album's 90% probably analog, with the exception of like Pro Tools and some outboard effects, everything else was pushing air. But I think it's important to, not to forsake, like I'm not going to dumb it down, our fans are really smart, so why dumb it down? It's going to sound fake,
Yeah, and again, I mean, that's why I've brought it up a few times now. It's like I do love the authenticity of that album, because I think I would have heard if there was any fakeness that was going on with this album, and I'm glad to hear that you guys were forward-thinking with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was risky for a long time. It took me a long time to talk these guys in. I'm like, we got to write some new songs. They're like, no, people don't want to hear that because they're so, enamored with the old stuff. It's so culty. They won't accept the new stuff, primarily like Dan. This is my conversation with Dan and Emilio and Robert and Claudius Juicer, Nick Stan. He's the newer guy though. And but I was like, well, because me, like my whole mission was to create a new album. So for the last, over 3 decades since I got shot. So what I did was, instead of like freaking out, I said, well, let's just try out some new songs on the road. You know what I mean? Or let's just write, a demo for us, and then we can learn these songs, and then we'll give it like a cherry on the top, at the end of our live concerts, and so I eased them into the transition, like kind of fucking, made it, and then when we got the demo, of course, we just sent it out. I was like, fuck it, let's send it out. We sent it out and immediately got like a bunch of bites from different record companies. So that was the game changer right there. That's when I think that Dan realized that there was a future rather than just playing the old shit, so. Oh. So that was an important, a pivotal moment because they were afraid to, I had to like talk them into writing new stuff or writing with me because they were afraid to fuck with the past. Me, I don't give a fuck. I'm an artist. I'm just going to create. If people like it, they like it. If they hate it, then fucking don't listen to it. So.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure that will happen to an extent when the album comes out. I know there's going to be those people that just want to listen to Seven Churches and not really appreciate anything new that could happen. But I think there's so many people out there that have been wanting new Possessed music, like myself. I mean, knowing that you guys have been going out there and playing these live shows, I've always been wondering what it would sound like with this new incarnation of the band, what you guys were capable of. And I could not be more happy with what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, it's not rocket science. It's only death metal, but I think we have a 4 sound. It's a 5-piece instead of a 4-piece, and everything is on track, and just a lot better musicians, and they've been playing the songs, like I say, more than twice as long as the old guys. They're not kids. We were kids back then. Now they're all veterans. They've been in bands. They've been, with the exception of Dan. Everybody else is like pretty much a veteran who's toured with big well-known metal acts, and I think that everybody here, including Dan and everybody, deserves to be here, and they've earned their spire just as much as I have.
Oh, very much so. And again, like you said, I mean, they proved it so much by being in the band for so long, being able to appreciate those older songs, being able to make those songs better, and now being able to have some songs that they were able to help create and being able to push that into the future.
Yeah, and having failed tours where like the fucking agent rips us off for all our money, and I think we went to Europe for a month and made like $2,000 or something, and so like the people, in a way, like I like to, like they hate me for this, but I take them out on like a club circuit tour, like a few of them, and try to break them. You know what I mean? Because the road is the true test of a man. Like, if you fucking are not 110% into it, it'll break you. It'll feel like, it's tough, man. You know how it is touring, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's tough. Like, people that aren't, like people that are weekend warriors, they won't last, And especially if things go wrong, or it gets uncomfortable, or you get tired, and it's tough. It's tough out there, and that I've lost a lot of band members that way. But the guys that stuck with me are the guys that can fucking they love it. You know what I mean? Even when it's at its worst, we just kind of look up and laugh, like, fuck, dude. Like, this rules. It's like when I did Concrete, that was super hard, but it wasn't as hard as like touring. Like touring an uncomfortably long tour, or a grueling regimen, or just not getting sleep, or you don't eat right. You have to, it's real work to try to keep healthy, and I don't know. It's to me, I love that shit, but a lot of people can't hang,
Yeah, and again, that's why it's so important to find those right musicians, both inside and out. I mean, whether they're able to write songs, whether they're able to learn the older songs, if not better, learn those songs. And of course, when you want to go out and play shows, that they can handle that touring regiment. I mean, whether it's just like a couple weeks or a couple months on the road, festival circuits, club shows. I mean, there's so many different ins and outs. And just like you mentioned before, with like booking agents and venue owners trying to rip you off. I mean, there's so many different aspects that people don't think about.
Yeah, I know. I think it's important, and that was what the big search was. That's what it took so long, is to find those right. 25 members later. I think Chuck was the same way. Kind of a revolving door of musicians until I think he was searching for exactly what I had been searching for, is that perfect mashup. And it feels right now. It feels good, and everybody has a spot, and a spot for everybody, and everybody knows their place, and everybody respects the kind of movement, and it feels good again. It feels like it's time to try to do something new, and I don't know, like, as much as people want to pin this as, some retro band makes good or whatever, I think we all really feel like we're just getting started, so.
Yeah, and I think once more people are able to hear the album, especially when it comes out in just like a little over 2 weeks now on May 10th, I mean, wow. I think people are going to be able to hear that there is that resurgence in the band, and just like you said, I can hear that you guys are just getting started, and I'm so excited to see what's going to be happening on the next albums.
Yeah, and the pressure's on now, but it's good pressure,
Absolutely. So, with that in mind, I mean, of course, with the new album coming out May 10th, what should people expect from you guys in between albums now with 2019 into 2020?
Well, we're going to tour as long as I hold up. And, I have a tour in June. We're going to Europe. Then I have another one possibly in September, but we're kind of tweaking with that now. So that's TBA, to be announced. We have several offers for all kinds of crazy tours. So it's a matter of just kind of, waiting for the right things to fall in line and going out and touring. So we're going to be touring a lot, hopefully,
Oh, it's so great.
Touring a lot, playing a lot, writing a lot.
Yeah, and it's so great to see that you guys are going to be giving this album that proper live promotion as well, because as much as I love hearing this record, I keep going back to it from start to finish and just loving the songs. I can't wait to see how they translate live.
Yeah. There's I think even when I was singing on the album, I was like, why am I doing it? Doing this to myself vocally, there's very little room to breathe. It's just, just constantly yelling. So it's a pretty aggressive and fun album. I don't know. I dig it. I think it's cool. I think it's probably our best work. So.
Oh, awesome. And I think with that, that's an amazing note to end on, and I thank you so very much for taking this time to be able to talk to me about everything that's going on in the world of Possessed in 2019. Of course, the brand new album, Revelations of Oblivion, coming out May 10th through Nuclear Blast. I've said it a few times, and I can't say it enough. I absolutely love this album. I know it's going to be one of my favorite albums come the end of the year when all those end of the year lists come out, and just being able to talk to you for this long about the old days, what's going on now, everything in between, and what to look forward to in the future. This was a tremendous honor.
Well, right on, Josh, and the pleasure and honor is all mine. I really appreciate your time and efforts, which I know are valuable, and I respect your opinion and the fact that you're taking time out from your schedule to speak with me.
Oh, absolutely. I love being able to promote the bands that I love and truly care about, and this is one that I never knew if I was going to be able to do that, especially for brand new material. So the fact that this has finally happened, it just means the absolute world to me.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you dig it, man. And we'll be touring around the U.S. soon.